Hello, everyone. We are back with an update from the hardcore war effort, straight from the front lines of the battlefield. Uh, so, the last time I left you, we had, I believe, just gotten into Cruel, and we'd started chugging along there, and I was all excited to see how Cruel was going to go. I did save some videos you can see here. Here's an example. Once you get to Cruel with Cage God, and once you get Eye of Winter, you can see your DPS just melts these bosses. I mean, I don't know if this is a Cage God thing or an Eye of Winter with the Bell thing. It's probably more of an Eye of the Winter with the Bell thing. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, even without the Eye of Winter, you could still kill these bosses. But obviously, just watching how this goes, I mean, this is just silly, right? Like, again, Eye of Winter belling with Cage God, piece of cake, right? So that was all fine and dandy, and we crushed the campaign, and everything seemed great. And we started doing some trials of the Sekmas, or we'll have Sekama, however you pronounce that. And then the impossible happened. I was farming the bosses, everything seemed fine, and pulling up the picture now. Hold on. Then out of nowhere, this happened. Dun dun dun. Now, this is very confusing to me. I had just finished killing the boss. I was farming the trials. I'll explain why I was farming the trials. We'll get into this in a minute. But I was level 75 here in this picture. And I died through chaos inoculation. And I'm staring at this picture, looking at the mods, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure none of these mods would have killed me. But I had 7 almost full shields. And I was like, what was it? What killed me in chaos inoculation through my shield? This was like a puzzle. This was a riddle to solve, because my main hang up here was like, I was like, I genuinely don't know how to learn from this. I don't understand what killed me, and unless I learn from this, unless I figure it out, I guess I'm done. Like, why play an early access game if this can happen? Because I guess this is a bug. This is a mistake. I don't know, right? And then I talked in World Chat a little bit about it, asking people, being like, yeah, I have a mystery death. I have almost full shield. None of the mods can kill me. The boss poisons, but poison would have killed me. What is it that would have done the 1 HP to me through chaos inoculation? And then someone said it. Someone in the chat said, I hope you're not drinking one of the nasty flasks. And as soon as they said it, I went, oh no. Oh God, how did I allow this to happen? Is this real? And I took my cursor and I slowly went down to my mana potion and hovered over it. And sure enough, removes 15% of mana recovered from life when used. Now, I knew this was a problem. I knew you weren't supposed to have these in your bar, because in Chaos Inoculation, this is instant death. I genuinely don't know how this ended up on my bar. I don't know if I was overtired and I just saw a bigger mana number and clicked it and put it on. I don't know if I accidentally clicked to swap or something. I genuinely don't know, because I knew this would kill me. I knew this was a problem, and somehow it ended up on my bar. And the hilarious part is, this was probably on my bar for a while. It was just a time bomb waiting to happen for me to click get mana and kill myself. So that was hilarious. This is the character I was using. So just to show you real quick, when I died, level 74, still have the things in my inventory, because I died and went to softcore, and that was the end of it. But still had the Cage God staff. I was using this helmet, which I don't use anymore, and I'll explain why. But it had evasion, it had energy shield. Also using an evasion energy shield chest. I mean, my gear wasn't great. It was fine. It was passable. I had just hit, and I was trying to make my way in the world, and I still had my little Azure Gauge amulet. I had my rings providing damage. I was chugging along, and everything was going great, and then I killed myself. But that didn't work. So I said, well, do I call it quits? Do I give up on it and call it for the season? No. No, folks. We never give up. Winners aren't quitters. And now we're level 94, and we're back for round 2. So, as of making this video, we are now currently in the top 100 of hardcore on the ladder at rank 91 at level 94. We've been chugging away, taking our time. Honestly, not sweating it too badly. Also, the name, because this is Nakamon 2, Electric Boogaloo, therefore we are now Naka Boogaloo. It's going pretty well. This character now is borderline as powerful as some softcore characters. I've been slowly systematically knocking down my target goals of items I want to get. If I die on this character, that's it for this season, because the value of this character at this point, it would be so insurmountable for me to replace that I don't even want to deal with it. Let's go over some of the gear. Right out the gate, yeah, I've got an Astromantis on my hardcore character. That's a thing. That's a thing that exists. Yep, I have Hand of Wisdom in action. I have Ingenuity. I have the pillar with a 12% damage roll that I did myself. We are cooking. We are cooking with gasoline on the fire now. Things are going very, very well. So let me weave you a tale and give you some hardcore tips and tell you what I did. First thing I did when I hit high level hardcore is I realized if I ever had any chance of buying some of this gear or farming for some of this myself, I was going to need currency. And the way I was going to get currency was I was going to sell relics. So something that I decided was by farming the trial for a while, and I did farm it for a while. I had a lot of these keys. I farmed this for a while and I was selling the relics. Because the thing about this is everyone that goes into trial and hardcore is extremely cautious. They want to make sure they don't die. They want to complete their trials to their ascendancy. So they're willing to pay a couple exalted for these honor resistance and total honor, relics. And then you can also get the movement speed relics, which sell a little bit better. The keys drop relics sell a little bit better. If you get one of the ones with extra vendor choices, those were selling for like divines for me. So I probably did 60 or 70 total of these runs just to make my way in the world at the start and make a living. And honestly, at low level, it's really not bad. These took me from like level 60 to 65 all the way to like 80 plus. Like I was grinding levels on these. I was 85 or 86 before I'd even started maps, just to put that into perspective. I lived in the trials. And to show you what I had done to maximize my gains and maximize my money making capability in doing this, I don't really do this anymore, so I don't mind sharing this because it's not like I'm creating competitors. Those relics that are still in my relic tab are just ones that are kind of left over from when I was doing this. I've mostly moved on from it. Um, my main strategy in farming this. Now I know you can farm barrel roll and that's pretty powerful, but keep in mind that as being hardcore, I had a different strategy. What I was doing was my main focus was key drop rate. So I had quantities of keys, quantities of keys, quantities of keys. I had like 100% extra key. I had enough honor resistance here. I have this honor resistance and 2 extra choices. I had bosses take 30% increased damage with honor resistance. I probably don't need this anymore at the power level that I'm at, but at the time, this helped me with killing the 4th floor super boss. That little 30% damage was a nice little boost. And I really liked movement speed. Now, some of these are bangers. I've got like this 10% increased movement speed. You can get up to 10% on a small charm. You do these enough, you're going to see these relics pop up. So this was a huge way. I was getting a ton of keys. I was getting to the final room past the boss. Another thing on hardcore that was really good value is people pay really well for jewels. There's not a lot of jewels in the hardcore market. So between the relics and between the jewels, I was able to save up a lot of currency and make a bid on an Astromantis. Now at the time, there was this one guy had the one Astromantis. I believe he had 20% of it and it was at a 110 roll. And he had it listed for 100 divine. Now, 100 divine seems like a lot, but honestly, for a one of Astromantis on hardcore, 100 is actually not that unrealistic. I was able to save up 90 and make an offer. And I got lucky because at the time, divines were only about 20 to 1 in the market. Now they're up to like 45 to 50 in the market. It's rapidly catching up to like the insanity of softcore. So I got lucky at the time. All total, I probably paid 1,800 to 2,000 X to get my Astromantis, and that's really not that bad. Hand of Wisdom in the market are actually pretty cheap right now. People are farming that boss. You can buy the breach stones on hardcore right now for like, I don't know. They're not that bad. Okay, they weren't that bad. Someone bought them out. They were like 40-ish X, which really wasn't that bad either. So these are actually pretty cheap. I rolled this one myself. I actually farmed a couple of these myself. I've been farming breach stones too now that I'm doing what I'm doing with my build. So I got the minus 1% on the attack speed, but I got the plus 2 to the lightning damage. And honestly, you attack so fast with this already. I just didn't care. Like the 2 or 3% attack speed, whatever. I get the extra 2 damage on the top for the lightning is enough of a difference and a bonus that I was fine with that. I farmed this ingenuity myself. I'm trying to find a second one so I can start corrupt rolling to try to get a better roll, obviously. So the other gear that I'm using right now is I've got pretty good boots. I'm stacking item find. I made this ring myself. I'm trying to get the things to reroll. I could reroll the top 2 because it's a 16 and a 6 are obviously low, but I really wanted the extra skill slot. I'll talk about that in a minute. Strength is huge for the stat stacking build. I got my fire resistance to my resistance caps, and 42 is a lot. I was using this ring for a while. A 57% rarity on a ring is just bonkers. Good lightning damage, decent cold. I swapped this out purely for the skill slot, and I really feel that this is the right call. Again, I'll explain this in a second. And then as far as these two pieces, oh, and this ring is just a beast. I just have this one in because it's a catch-all. Really high resistances, good strength, gets me evasion, really high double dip damage rolls. I love this ring. I just haven't found anything that I would replace this with yet. And then I'm just going straight energy shield on my helmet and my chest. And I've been trying to upgrade this. I've seen some 450 to 500s in the market. I just haven't seen one that I want to go in on yet because I really like the magic find, and this one has 40% cold. So I've been stuck on this one for a while. And then I'm using this one just for the raw 900 because there's math there. I really needed to hit my break point on spirit. We'll talk about that in a second. And then I got double resistances. So again, not the greatest shield, but again, it's a hardcore market. We're fighting for our lives out here. The market is not as fleshed out and as wide as you think it would be. So it is what it is. So that brought me to the next thing. Another thing I made a lot of currency to be able to buy some of this on is I started farming the Olroth boss in the expedition. So one of the things I wanted that didn't exist in the market is I wanted this. I knew I wanted the heroic tragedy, but there were none of them in the market. I farmed it myself. If you check right now in the market, there's probably 0, maybe 1. I actually had enough logbooks that I farmed 2, and I sold the extra one for like 30 or 40 div, and I looted one of the ultimate health flasks, and I sold that too. So farming him was very profitable for me. I've since farmed him a little bit more to try to relive that luck, and I haven't hit, so I think I'm going to give up farming him. But even the sales of those 2 boosted me. Now, here's an interesting thing. I'm sure people have mentioned this in other videos, but in case you don't know this and you're watching this video, when this dropped for me, it dropped as Olroth. It didn't drop for Verana. Now, for those of you watching this video that don't know, the way this works is when you equip one of these timeless jewels, this drops off the expedition boss. It only drops off of him on the hardest difficulty. This is another thing I want to talk about. Each of the pinnacle bosses has a unique jewel in their loot table. They only drop the jewels if you kill them on the highest difficulty. Here you go. See, point in case. This guy's buying this jewel. These jewels sell, man. This is why I farm the trial. This is where I made most of my money. So I'll just do this real quick in real time. You can see people pay. This isn't even like that great of a jewel. It's got mana regen, crit hit with a large radius, and that guy just paid me 20 for it. So, yep, that's how I made my money. That's how I bought most of my gear, including the Astroventus. But anyhow, back to what we were talking about. So, if this rolls, the way it works is when this rolls, it changes the skills and your majors around the board. So like this becomes that. These change into this icon and they become something else completely. So it literally changes the skills. And the one that says the line of Verana, it changes this to say strength's inherent bonus is 1% increased energy shield per 2 strength instead. Now, as a stat stacking build, we obviously have a considerable amount of strength, and with this being hardcore, I want as much survivability as I can get. So as you see, 9568, when I take this off, I go all the way down to 6200. This is effectively giving me a 50% boost. Another cool thing about this is a lot of people used Ghost Wraith chest in their gear set. Ghost Wraith provides a lot of energy shield, but it's also really limited on the other stats that it can provide, and it doesn't give you a lot of spirit when combined with our thing that says every 6 energy shield gives you 1 spirit. So you're kind of bottlenecked on Ghost Wraith. However, by using this jewel, because this jewel changes our strength to be from health to energy shield, Ghost Wraith now loses value in that it's no longer getting as much health from strength as it normally would, which means the way the math works out is by switching to a high energy shield chest while using this jewel, not only can we comfortably swap Ghost Wraith out, it actually generates more shield in the math than if we were using Ghost Wraith. So anybody that thinks Ghost Wraith is technically best in slot, that is wrong. It is not technically best in slot if you have high enough a gear to swap these 2 out. So this with the jewel is better than Ghost Wraith and hardcore. I now have more energy shield than I did. But the better part is it gave me a ton of spirit to play with. So I wanted to hit enough of this to get a ton of these passive perks going. I have 6 of them right now. We'll talk about those in a second. We'll stick with the gear first. Now, the project I'm currently working on is my next thing that I want to get is I want to do the time loss diamond trick with the from nothing trick. But again, this is we're talking about high concept stuff. So let me see. I think I still have the way this works is the dream is you eventually, this is a spreadsheet planner. So the dream here is, the way it works is you get one of these time lost diamonds that says 4% strength and 4% int is probably best in slot, but I'm using the next best thing because beggars can't be choosing on hardcore. And the way it works is once you have it equipped, anytime you take one of these notable nodes, it gives you the benefit of this time lost diamond. So the next step you use is you take this from nothing jewel over here. From nothing says passes in the radius of any, it chooses a randomized major passive, and it says you can take those without needing them to be interlocked. So the meta call here is by taking resonance, it actually unlocks the ability to take any of these notable passives in this radius without needing to be locked in. So you could take this passive, both of these, which includes spaghettification, which you got to be careful in a second. I'll talk about that. And then also seeing stars. This makes it so that all 5 of these proc off of this jewel. If you wanted to get really greedy, you could even take like this one over here. You could like hard take this and like go over there. Or I haven't tested this, but I'm pretty sure if I were to put this on my amulet, I actually wonder if that works. I haven't tested it. I don't know. I haven't checked videos or anything, but I think if I were to put this on my amulet as a passive, it would interact with this and give me the boost, which is something to consider. It's probably better than other options. It's probably something I might end up doing. I don't even think this is an expensive one, right? Is this? Yeah, this isn't even that bad. It's a little expensive. It doesn't have a white, which is the important part. But anyhow, this is the goal. But the problem is, in order to do this, I need a from nothing that rolls that specific major passive. It needs to roll resonance. It can roll anyone on the entire board. Tons of RNG, and there's barely any in the market. And again, it's one of the legendary jewels. It drops off of the King of the Mists boss from the Ritual Pinnacle on the hardest difficulty only. I don't see enough people talking about this. People are starting to figure it out. I saw one of the jewels. I think the Megalomaniac jewel is listed on the wiki as being dropped from the highest difficulty. But I want to stress this again. I'm saying this with soft assurance because this isn't information that's been solidified in the wikis. I'm saying this from my own chest based on anecdotal evidence. The jewels only drop from the hardest difficulty. If I'm wrong, but that's just from what I've seen. I've killed these things hundreds of times. Anyhow, that's the goal. I don't have it yet. We're working on that. Right now, I just have this. And this is still pretty powerful. I mean, this is good. And the one I'm using right now is gain 4% of damage as extra lightning damage instead of the int. It's the next best thing. It's similar to when you take these here that give you extra damage or this that gives you extra damage. It's the same thing. I mean, they're just as powerful as those. I haven't run numbers on this against my int to confirm if this is actually better than int. There's a universe where it might be. I genuinely don't know. I'm not a math nerd. I haven't crunched those numbers. That's a lie. I'm a math nerd. I will spreadsheet this out eventually. But this I feel is debatably better. The reason the strength is mandatory is I refuse to have one without strength purely because, again, it's playing into this jewel. We want all the strength we can get. It's very, very powerful because of Varana. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. There's 3 other versions of this. The Varana one, there's Orloth, and there's some other Medved or whatever. This actually dropped as an Olroth for me. If you don't know this, you hold down Alt on this. You notice how it says Varana to Olroth? You can actually divine roll this. If you use a divine orb on this, it re-rolls the name on the jewel. So like if you buy, I don't know what the market's like, but say Olroth is cheaper than Varana, you could just buy an Olroth and then divine orb re-roll this into Varana if you wanted to. I didn't know that. I saw the Olroth drop. I got super sad at first. I re-rolled it into Varana, and I was so fucking happy. At first try, too. So that was sick, and that's cool to know. So if you didn't know, now you know. So there you go. As far as other passives go, my current setup is pretty straightforward. Now I'm gonna post the video and then I'm gonna work on posting a written guide. When I post the written guide, it isn't going to be my dream scenario of what I want. I'm going to copy exactly what's in this video in the build guide linked in the description, and I'm never going to change it from that point on. So what you're seeing right now with my gear and my skills is exactly what I'm going to post in the build guide. If I die an hour from now, if I die, God help me, while I'm showing you what this build can do in a map, so be it. But at the time of this is what I was using. So you can see it as a quick cheat sheet. Just to go over this really quickly on the passives. Started off taking defensive nodes. It's hardcore. Obviously, want them. Took these defensive nodes. Why not? Took the frost damage because it's extra frost damage. You could make a justification to take the points over here and go for the lightning damage? No, but for now I took the frost. More survivability here, more survivability here. Skated up here, grabbed resonance to go with charge staff. Have this going. These two nodes are feeding that for now, just leaving that there because I don't have a better place for it yet. Over here, I took this because I like this with charge staff. I'm not sure why more people don't take this, but these give you 20% critical damage bonus if you consume a power charge. It's a crit stacking build, so this is just 60% crit, plus you get the 2 extra charges, which is more damage from charge staff. I really like this. I'm not giving it up. I took these, gets me 15% multiplicative, more lightning damage there. Climbed up here, crit bonus, chaos inoculation. This gets me 25 int. This gets me 60% maximum shield. Those are both very powerful. Took this to go down here. This right here for the freeze buildup, which is part of the ridiculous Herald stacking, which we'll talk about if you don't know about it. This for 25 dex. This for 8% more dexterity. This is just a nice little crit pocket. Sometimes I retake the charm slot, but for now I'm not using it. Another little crit pocket here. And then this gives you the all resist with this right here. Also, this is just a time loss sapphire. It rolled maximum energy shield, and it also has corrupted blood. I'm using this right now for the corrupted blood thing just because it's nice to have if you're using anything that can afflict corrupted blood. Is pretty powerful. It gives me 3% increased maximum energy shield, and there's 7 of these little small nodes here. So this is effectively a 21% maximum energy shield. As far as getting corrupted blood on a jewel on hardcore goes, this is about as good as it's going to get, so I left that. Other jewel choices in case you're curious, for examples. This one just has lightning damage, maximum energy shields at a premium. It also has the maximum energy shield as additional stun threshold. Very important if you're using chaos inoculation because this is chaos stun resist is based on your max health, and if your max health is 1, this is brutal. So I try to sneak some 7% the percent as maximum energy shield as stun threshold. Obviously, the energy shield from focus is dead, and stun freeze threshold's fine, but we use the charm. But again, beggars can't be choosers on hardcore. You take what you can get. This one, energy shield crit. Energy shield recharge, freeze build up with quarterstaffs. This is a banger for what we're currently doing. Also rolled strength. That's great. Energy shield, curses is a dead stat. Freeze threshold, also more energy shield. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Plus we got another 7% lightning resist. And then this one's actually a banger. I made this one myself with the corrupted. Maximum energy shield, crit hit chance, crit hit bonus, energy shield recharge rate, and cannot be hindered. Now I like energy shield recharge rate for the record because we use meditate. Meditate's insane in hardcore. You'd be a fool not to run it. So we have meditate, and it makes your meditate power you up faster. Now to give you an idea of the path that this went is basically, you started off here. I went up this way over here and got to here, and then I started to go back down and grabbed this. When I was in Cruel, I basically went down the line to grab this and get these nodes for the attributes here. It wasn't until like 75 to 80 plus that I started grabbing the more exotic stuff like these crit bonuses to really start stacking crit damage and make the build take off. Because as far as campaign goes, you don't need these crit nodes. This is more of a win more thing as you start climbing maps. So as time went on, those are what I was grabbing. The bread and butter was like this outer line here to take the attribute points, filling it in with defensive nodes as you can. This line here with the lightning is also kind of a win more. You don't need this right away. And then this, if you're using charge staff, obviously if you're not using charge staff, you get rid of that. As far as skills go, the reason I brought up this ring several times. So right now I'm using Stormwave as my bread and butter on maps. I'm using Tempest Fury with the bell on bosses. I have the cast on shock for the Eye of Winter Cheese, just melts bosses. Without this ring, we're missing 1 slot. Now as far as passives go, Wind Dance is great for survivability. Grim Feast is great for survivability. You need both of these in hardcore, right? Those aren't going anywhere. Right now, the Broken Tech is running the double Herald of Thunder and Herald of Ice. I'm not going to go over that right away. I'm going to show some gameplay in a second, and then we'll come back and I'll wrap up talking about the interaction here. But I wanted both of these Heralds. And then lastly, in order to run Combat Frenzy with Charge Staff, I needed to have +1 more skill. So that's why I forcibly got the best skill ring I could find for the time being in order to get that extra slot to run both of these. Now, there's some other tech people are doing here. If you don't know, you can use Lingering Illusion with a socket that says, let me just show you. There's tech here, and you could argue. I think you need Blink to really make it pop off, though. There's like, I'm not going to bother showing it. There, basically, you can use Lingering Illusion to create the clone, and there's a support jewel that says when you attack with this skill, it steals life from one of your minions to boost the damage of this skill. So like if you create the clone and then immediately attack, it will kill the clone forcibly on your own. Like you'll eat your own clone and then give you a charge. So you technically don't need Combat Frenzy. I may mess around with that later. I think you need Blink in order to make that work. The only other thing that I would even consider is right now I'm at 20 out of 50. If I take Combat Frenzy off, it puts me to 50. I think I could. There's one here. I think I'm using 10 spirit here. I could get rid of the reduced regeneration. If I got rid of this, it would put me to 60. I could technically use Blink. So if I wanted to ditch Charge Staff and Combat Frenzy to go Blink, I could. I actually do that in Tempest, the Trial of Chaos. But the reason I'm doing this right now is for a stat stacking build, Charge Staff is really powerful. It gives you the 20 lightning damage per charge. It gives you the extra hits. You can turn this into a stat stick against rares or bosses. It has electrocution build up, blinds enemies on hit. It's just powerful to have. I mean, I don't need to preach to the choir. Everybody knows Charge Staff is good. But the only way you're really going to get it is with the extra in this build. So let's show some quick gameplay real quick to show you what this build is doing in the current game, because if you're interested in this and you see what we're doing, you may laugh at the ridiculousness. I assume obviously most people know about the doubled Herald brokenness. It's obviously insane, but there is a couple things I want to talk about because I noticed some people doing double Herald a little differently. And mine, let's go do a really generic, no, I don't want to do that one. I don't want that one either. What's like a nice open map? Just something simple. Oasis, that's fine. We can do that. We're just going to do a generic ass whatever map. Because I had a rule where I wasn't going to play and talk because I didn't want to be distracted with playing hardcore. But I'm going to do one generic map just to show you the genericness of this. So the way it's working right now is the broken meta right now is if you stack the two heralds, you can get both of them popping. And essentially when we're up to enemies, they kind of just explode. When you entire packs, you will clear entire screens of, hold on, actually, let me put my audio back on. My base is a menagerie of pets and they make a lot of noise and they walk around and I think they're interesting. But when I'm actually out in the field, I want to have sound. So what you're going to notice what's going on here is when I cast a spell, everything kind of just explodes. And when the Herald of Ice proc goes off, it can literally like click and proc entire maps. Like that right there. You can just pop entire screens. It's actually kind of insane. Like sometimes you'll hit things and you'll clear, like if you're doing a breach, you'll kill things literally off screen. It gets to be a little annoying. I joke around and I say, do you think GGG would take valid criticism of help me because I'm killing things off screen so far that I sometimes miss loot because like see like right there, like that rare literally died off screen. Like I didn't even see him. So if you're familiar with this, you're probably just nodding, going, yeah, he's just doing another one of these. It's hardcore, so listen, like I said, we're fighting for our lives out here. I'm going to take any advantage I can in hardcore. I'm not trying to play hardcore to be, like, slick and creative and new. I'm just doing whatever's the most efficient in the current game that I can play and I can take advantage of in hardcore to live. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm going to do, so. Nothing is pretty much kidding. This is a 15, remind. Obviously, there's things that can make this more powerful, but I'm just showcasing the double explosion. Now, other people are accomplishing this in different ways, and I want to show in a second. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it, because I've seen different builds on this. And I like my version because it allows me to use the rings I want to use. Some people are using the legendary ring that makes it so that you can crack enemies as if they were frozen simply by chilling them. I don't really think that's necessary, and you can see Herald of Ice is proccing all the time. And also notice, see how these two buffs are going off all the time? We're going to talk about that too. But keep that in mind too. See, they're going off again. They're constantly going off. The way I have these set up is those two perks basically are multiplicative damage bonuses that considerably increase your damage. And you want those going off all the time. Just for situations where there's more enemies, not just things that are, one. Like if you're doing a breach and you're constantly plugging away on enemies, or you're doing ritual and you're, fighting waves of enemies and stuff like that. Obviously, situations like that, I thought maybe that would connect. But, okay, that was a good enough example. You've seen all you need to see. Screen goes kablooey. Everything one-shots. I have 19k shield. It's going to take a lot to kill me. Am I invulnerable? Am I saying I'm not going to die? No, I'm not. Because I'm stubborn, and I've been pushing the delirium event. The delirium event is very difficult, but I keep running it every time I save up simulacrums. Or I've been checking the market to buy them. Because but right now the market's kind of empty. That's literally it. 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. I think there are other couple whales out there like me with a lot of currency from selling a lot of stuff in the market that are buying those up. Um, because we're chasing the melting maelstrom. We all want melting maelstrom. It's so good, and there's none in the market. Basically, right now, getting a melting maelstrom, you got to pay the iron price. You got to farm this yourself. You got to go in there. And as most people know, the delirium event is scary. I've had to tap out of this 3 times now. I've gotten to wave 15 on the tier 3 like 3 times. And I've had to escape with like barely any life left because I just keep rolling really awful mods and the enemies get a 1-up on me. All it takes is 1 stun and you're in trouble and you get a bone out because you're going to die. It's just really scary content. But we really want the melting maelstrom. I'm actually like rooting for everybody. I know a few of the top dogs are chasing it right now because I talked to them, basically saying, hey, if you ever get a melting maelstrom, hit me up. I'd love to buy it. And they're just like, yeah, we're chasing that too. That's actually not a terrible jewel. So what you just saw, the double blammo kablooey. Let's talk about why that's working so efficiently. The meta right now is you have Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder going at the same time. The general idea here is Herald of Thunder is actually causing freezing damage. Right now you've got skills cause more freeze buildup, extra cold damage, which makes it do less lightning damage. Attacks gain cold damage for 3 seconds on freezing an enemy with supported skills. Now, some people are using the pole crine whatever ring, which makes it so that when the enemy is chilled, when you kill them, it counts as if they had been frozen. I haven't found that to be a problem. Granted, I have very high damage and very good gear, so that's probably why this works for me. You could try it out and see for yourself. But my gimmick right now is Stormwave is set up to spam shock. It has 100% more chance to shock, and it also has magnitudes of shock, less cast because of mana, and attacks gain damage from lightning damage for 3 seconds on killing a shocked enemy with it. So this is my shock stick. I cast this. This shocks like crazy. Again, this will all be in the written guide that I'm going to post. So this is step 1, this shocks, which then procs Herald of Thunder. So now as I'm casting Shockwave, I'm proccing Herald of Thunder. Herald of Thunder causes more freeze buildup, does more damage as cold damage. When it kills something that, when it freezes, on freezing. So when it freezes something, you get another multiplicative damage bonus. And then it also has more weapon damage. And then when they're frozen and die, that procs Herald of Ice, which is another explosion. And this is supportive skills deal more damage to enemies further from you. This is why you can clear screens away. Supportive skill has 100% more critical chance against enemies that are on full life. Again, you're basically using your Herald of Ice as your off-screen splash damage. And then finally, skills have 40% more area effect. I don't even have another jewel in here, and I probably should. I was doing bosses and swapping stuff around last night, and I forgot to actually put another jewel back in here. I don't even remember what this was. If I remember it, that's the only thing I'll change to the build guide. I said that this was going to be literally what you see in front of me is what's going to be in the guide I'm going to post, but that 4th jewel may show up in the build guide when I figure out what I want it to be. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, you've got Wind Dancer. I have this right now for this. I think is what it was. No, because I wanted this to freeze. I have this because this just doing more damage right now because honestly, this actually does pretty good damage. So like putting this in here wasn't that bad. And it does pin damage, causes stun buildup. So I just don't like the supported skills cannot inflict elemental ailments. Like I like all my skills doing that. So this, because stun buildup wasn't an elemental ailment, it was like, fine, whatever. I'm just going to put it in there. Grim Feast with mana regen and accuracy, whatever. This doing extra charges. Tempest right now, more attack speed. Rage on melee hit. Final Strike can be cast twice. Skills deal more damage if they're close to you. Charge Staff, as I showed you. I have this for electrocuting things and blind. This could be changed. You could probably make this do damage. Right now, I just like having another CC in the build for like single targets that have a lot of HP. And then Tempest Spell with +1 to limit. More area, more damage, less area. Attacks gain extra lightning damage. Attacks gain more physical damage. Attacks leech physical attack damage as mana, because mana issues is a big deal, and this gets you a little more mana back when you're doing it, because Winter's dumping it on bosses and stealing so much mana. So, yep, that's what we're doing right now to accomplish what you just saw in the crazy one-shot pops. So, you don't need the ring if you're doing enough cold damage, because I have this. I have the cold damage here, 10% extra cold damage, and 5% extra cold damage here. This is providing enough extra cold damage in contrast with also using this jewel, the 25% extra cold damage that I hit this benchmark. So I have 9,700 damage on my Herald of Thunder right now. You might be able to get more of this. You might be able to get less of this. I don't know. But that's what I'm heading on that. And you saw the pops. You saw both this buff of that extra multiplicative going off, and you saw this going off, that one. You saw both of those. That's why I said keep in mind these buffs are going to work really well. So, yeah, that's how you're accomplishing the double Herald and making the screen explode. And one more thing I want to mention. This is just a duh moment, but if you're playing hardcore, the goal is to eventually take spaghettification when I have the jewel that allows me to take this, because it gives you the 7% increased attributes and movement speed. It also says, no, not this one, sorry. This one. This is another one I'm going to take, Event Horizon, just because it's in the range to give me my boost from this jewel. But this one says lose 3% of life and energy shield when you use a chaos skill. If you take this, just be really careful if you're playing hardcore. Don't mess up and forget and ever switch to this skill, Hand of Chulia, because this is technically a chaos skill. This will kill you in hardcore. If you have that thing learned and you click this button, you're just going to die instantly. So just keep that in mind and don't make that mistake, because I was thinking about that and seeing that Chulia show up in a lot of build guides lately, and I was like, that's problematic. That might get some people killed. Also, I have a crafting page because I save up 3 of a thing to recraft. So like I use this, and I've got this for just to go to the reforging bench to drop the dummies in and do that. So I do pay attention to the stuff I actually care about, and the things I'm chasing. I save up the 3s. I actually have 3 of these right now. Let's go roll the dice, right? Trying to get a really high energy shield on this. So let's see what we got. Is it good? Nope, it's dog shit. So one of the things I do is, you might be saying, why are you using evasion on your chest or your helmet? So first of all, the reason you don't need evasion on your helmet is there's a passive here that you should be taking that says 2 evasion rating per 1 maximum energy shield on equipped helmet. So by not having evasion on my helmet, because this has 400 evasion energy shield, this essentially has 800 evasion. So by taking the 1 point in this, it's essentially saying this is now an 800 evasion, 400 energy shield helmet, which is obviously very, very powerful. And then when it comes to the chest, there is this node, which says +1 maximum energy shield per 12 evasion rating on equipped body armor. This is a lot harder to get. On the very, very top end, I've seen like 1200 to 400. I guess you can go up. I've heard 500 to 550 energy shield matched with like 13 to 1400 evasion is possible. So yes, you could go that avenue. I haven't seen anything that crazy on hardcore yet. And then if I were to change that out and lose that, how much would it change here? Like, look, I've got 234 evasion on these boots. I take this off. I go to 6860 with my buff, 7263. The diminishing on evasion is just high enough that, like, I like being around here. A 60-70 spread is fine-ish for me. At that point, I just like stacking energy shield, because most of the mechanics that are actually going to kill me, most of the things that are going to be the one-shot mechanics that I need to really worry about, it's usually stuff that doesn't care about this anyway. It's big AoE smashes that you can't evade that do enough damage where the dogshit nature of armor right now aren't even really gonna matter. So like, it just doesn't matter as much to me. I care about a comfortable number here just for the little dink and dunk damage for if I get swarmed in breaches or swarmed in delirium and I'm getting a lot of little hits on me. It's nice to have this. It adds up. But at the end of the day, stacking really high energy shield in hardcore is just the way to go. It's just better. Armor is incredibly undertuned and honestly kind of shitty right now with the way it works. I mean, Crip has some fantastic videos explaining why armor isn't very good right now. And then evasion is good. But again, the diminishing nature of this, I'm using this as an example of 234 going like 4%. If I had a chest, no, this is a buddy that actually just watched one of my other videos, and he's starting the Pillar of the Cage book I build on a low ones. There he is. Now he's in the next video. He gets a little feature. There you go. Good luck, buddy. I hope you crush this thing. Let's take a look at what he got. He's got set up. I gave him some X. I tossed him like 30X so he could get this going. So he got this going. Looks like he didn't corrupt anything on that, but he still has the 40 lightning damage. That's a good start. He managed to get a Ghost Wraith, which is really powerful in the early game. So that's going to keep him alive and give him a ton. He got a really nice wake. Wow, look at that. He rolled a low-level wake with 1 to 49 lightning damage. That's going to be a great start. He got gloves with lightning damage and only needs level 20 with double resist, so he should be able to hit that really soon. He got a neck with strength, all resist, strength int, and some maximum life. Again, good start. I'm sure that'll keep him going for a while. And yeah, this is a great foundation on a low level, fresh, hardcore monk. He should absolutely just steamroll the campaign with that gear, and that's all it takes. And honestly, this is like, that probably cost him 5, 10 to 15, so we'll say 20, 22 to 24. This is anywhere from 20 to 30x. So he was able to buy this on a 20 to 30x budget, which isn't too unmanageable. You could play an alt and then try to farm up X until you're able to do this. Low level gear sells for 1 or 2X. People want it just to make their low level characters more tanky and not die. So like, you'd be surprised what you can sell. I mean, some of the stuff I look for selling on hardcore right now, it's like what's left on my trade. I don't even know. Like, I've got like high chests or whatever. I looted one of this off that bot. This is one of the other drops. It's 5. This isn't selling. I'm just going to keep, I don't even care. I'd sell this for 1 divine. I just threw it up there to get a return on some of my books because I was farming that expedition boss. I made this shield with 1100 armor. I don't even know if this is good. I checked the market. A double resist with 124 health. That's like a T9 health roll with 1100 armor. There wasn't anything in the market like this. Obviously, I wrote asking price. I don't expect to get 20 divine for this. I'm just curious. I made this mace with 750 with 131 elemental. I don't know. I keep lowering this too. I thought maybe this was good, decent damage with a good Ela roll, but nobody seems to be playing maces in hardcore, so they don't care. I just throw random belts that I either craft or buy or gamble or whatever up for like, why is that one 80? What the hell? Oh, that was one of the good ones. I was actually using this myself for a long time. I'll lower it. I'll just keep lowering them. Anytime I check in and they haven't sold. This, I put this 57% rarity ring up for a lot because it's just rarity's so good right now. And there's just nothing in the market like that. But yeah, it gives you an idea. Stuff sells, some doesn't. I check every day. Things that haven't sold, I lower the price by like 50%. Just keep lowering it until like some of these get down to 3. Some of these are really high. It does sell eventually. But so yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. We went over the skills. We went over the passives. You've seen the gear. We talked about how to get the ice pops with the double Herald. I showed you the passives to kind of went over that. I showed you the jewels. Pretty long video. We winged it. Hopefully you learned some tricks. Hopefully if you're starting hardcore and you wanted some ideas, this gave you some tips. Best thing I can say is Heroic Tragedy is insane. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that I was trying to get a resonance one of these from nothing jewels until I actually bought it, because now it's just that someone's just going to stick it in me even deeper when my goal is to actually just get this myself. I've been farming this shit out of ritual maps. I love rituals. I'm addicted. Rituals like my favorite. I go out of my way on my maps to like hunt the ritual nodes the most, just because I just love shopping on them. It's like a free shop because you can find so much. I get a good amount of uniques. I see Audience of the King, like, you know, commonly enough that it's like within reach, like I can get them and feel good about it. I just really like rituals. I plug ritual into like almost all my towers, my ritual books. It's just so great. And I know you can do like map tower stacking and min-maxing and all that. And that's another topic for another video. I haven't really worried about that in hardcore or like have gone that crazy. But you can see all these nodes around some of these towers that are just completely tapped out. It's like, yep, that was a ritual node and a ritual tower. And I just hit every single ritual node because I was hunting for the king. It took me 7 tries on Audience to get my first belt drop. I got 6 of the boots in a row. I was starting to pull my hair out and losing. I never thought the belt was going to drop for me. And people sell the belt, but they sell corrupted dog shit versions because everyone's trying to live that dream and corrupt to get the corruption bonus to make that percentage go higher. So all the ones in the market are just either way overpriced or not good because they're bad corruption rolls. And like, I just rather live the dream and go for that high corruption roll myself, right? Like my goal now is to get a second one, keep whichever one is better and wear it, and then corrupt the lower one. One thing I want to mention, and this is another thing, it's probably been mentioned in other videos, but this is still a common misunderstood thing that I see people talk about. So before I go, I want to leave you with this one last little thing. When you corrupt an item and you're trying to go for the percentage change, what I mean by that is, like, this is the example. One of the corrupted mods that you can get is it modifies the specialty to be up to 20% higher than it normally would. So like this normally rolls, adds 1 to 10 lightning damage. You corrupted it, you hit that one modifier, you got 1 to 12 instead. That was the lucky roll. That's what that is. I lose the 1% on X, but like I said, I don't care. I'll lose the 1% on the attack speed to gain the 2 lightning damage. It's a trade because I attack so friggin' fast already. I'm fine with it. Speaking of that, there is a node in here I've been thinking about getting. The only node I don't currently have that I've been debating, where is it? This node? Yeah, there's this here, 1% attack speed per 15 decks. I thought about this. Like right now, I'm at like I'm at 300 decks. This is literally a 20% node. It's black, blue, which is, it's so expensive. So I don't know that I want to put that on yet. And I could like go over here where you get dex, and attack speed. So even more attack speed if you were to like hard chase this. You could get this 25 dex node as well. I don't know. Oh, there's another person behind a relic. We'll get him in a second. There's also this node. I guess the argument is if you took the thing with this and you did the evasion energy shields, you've got this node too to get 100% evasion rating from a. I don't know. There's so many things. Evasion rating just hasn't been a problem. Why fix it if it isn't broken, right? Like things have been going really well. So like I just don't even worry about it. Which one does he want? Come to the market, they grab, the bosses take 11 damage. That's a good one, see? I like the boss damage ones. I think those are really powerful. The only thing I was going to leave you with was when you corrupt an item and you're chasing that 20% roll and you want to maximize your options. I've seen a misconception in this. He listed it for 2, he put 1, whatever. I'm a merciful God, I don't care. I hook people up all the time, man. Low levels just trying to do their sec trials. It's whatever. It's a favor. I don't care. I got what I was looking for that. I haven't even really been filling this. What's left, this was full, and what's left here is kind of the scraps of the ones that people pick like vultures. When you go, I'm trying to think if I have an example. If I were to corrupt this right now, let's say I took the belt, let's say I corrupted it with a Val Orb, and I hit the 20%. It might be lower than 74, even with a 20% increase. And the reason for that is when you Val Orb a unique and you get the 20% modifier, it performs a divine reroll first. This has been mentioned in other videos, but people still don't know this. I see people talk in chat and they get this wrong all the time. So what I mean by that is you could have an 80% ingenuity belt and it could roll the 20% increase, but it might come out at like 65 instead of the 96 or whatever it should be. And the reason for that is it performed the divine reroll at the start. So what does this mean? Well, what it means is if you're chasing the corruption reroll, you shouldn't be using your good rolls. You should be exclusively using bad rolls because it's going to give you the free divine anyway. You have the exact same odds of hitting a 96% on a belt with an 80% as you do with a 40%. There is no reason to use a good roll when you're chasing a corruption. So keep that in mind. If you're chasing like this, well, I guess that doesn't matter because it's a static amount. I'm trying to think of another unique as an example. There's a bow. The bow, the rogue bow that rolls up to 250% to increase your quiver. And it has like a huge variance, I think, like 150 to 250. The people in chat all the time talking about corrupting a 240 or a 250 and then being confused when it comes out at like 210 or something. And I'm just like, it's because it divined it before it did it, dude. Like you don't want to use the 250s. You'd rather buy up the really, really cheap ones in the market, buy those 150s, buy those 160s, and then use the corrupted orb on those. They have the exact same chance of hitting the 300% roll as a 250 would. So that's the last little tidbit I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to go and work on the guide now. I'm posting the video. Thanks for watching. It was a good thing. Hope you had a great Christmas, holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope your New Year was awesome. As I said before, I'm not a content creator, so yeah, it took me almost 2 weeks to make another video. This is mostly just me checking in, giving you guys updates on how it went. I'm obviously pretty happy with this. I mean, at this point, trying to climb this is just a grind. I'm not there. There are a lot of bodies on this board that you could step over, but like I was like in the 80s last night. I went to bed. I wake up. I'm back in the 90s. Like this is just a grind at this point, and there's no differential. It's not like the person in first place. I'm probably more geared than the majority in the top 20. You know what I mean? Like the difference in level from 94 to 97 is so meaningless at this point. It's just who wants to put in the most hours grinding the same content over and over and over mindlessly. I don't really have it in me. I'm going to play a little more casually now that I'm in top 100. Maybe I'll aim for top 50. That's probably a reasonable goal. This character, I re-rolled this one on Christmas Day, like at Christmas night. So this has been like, I'm looking at the calendar now. It's been at 10 days. So in 10 days, I was able to catch up and get myself in the top 100. But the difference between where I am now and where, like, say, first place is, this is like another 10 days difference. I could straight grind from where I am right now and possibly still not even be where he is 10 days from now, which means knowing that he is going to continue grinding in those 10 days, in addition to that gap as it is, it's just a very difficult chase. It doesn't, I mean, if every single person in the top 20 drops dead, maybe you could catch up, but it's just not really something that interests me. I don't grind for the sake of it. This was a comfortable grind. Getting in the top 100 isn't that bad. I still get work done every day. I still sleep normal hours. I haven't had to sweaty grind, and I comfortably got into the top 100. So I'm happy with that. If I were to die in the next hour and my corpse landed right here, I'd be totally fine with it. And the Neko Boogaloo name as a joke was funny at first, but I regret it now. I wish I had more. I'm sorry. I just realized the sound audio's back. This is what I mean. You've been hearing my menagerie of little idiots, my little pets that just run around. I don't know. I think it's just fun. It makes it feel alive. I've got this little guy here. He's running around throwing the whip. I've got this little idiot running around slamming the ground and doing his thing. I've got these orbs that roll around doing their thing all the time. I don't know. It's just fun. People come in and trade at my base. They got the crow bell down here, and he slams the bell into the ground. I've had people come in and trade, and I see them just stop, and they're kind of just looking around, watching the pets run around, do their thing. It's one of the things about PoE 1 I missed. I wish I could get a question for you. If you know the answer to this, message me in the comments. I haven't looked it up. Say it in the comments. If I were to download, you can transfer your stuff from PoE 1 into PoE 2 right now, right? Like, that's a thing. Like, they let you carry cosmetics and stuff over from PoE 1. Am I understanding that correctly? Does PoE 1 have, like, an extensive shop? If I were to download and go into PoE 1 right now and purchase things, would I be able to then have those things in PoE 2 immediately? Like, is that a thing? Like, can I get that stuff? Is that allowed? Or am I just delusional? Am I misunderstanding how this works? Because I've seen a lot of people with skins and pets that don't exist in this game, and I assume they just got them from PoE 1. So, but yeah, that's it for me. I might save a video. I think my next step is I'm saving up a bunch of tokens for pinnacle bosses. So maybe I'll make a video and I'll save up a whole bunch of those and run them all in one video for fun, and we'll see what kind of drops I get, and I'll show you some of the strategy I do for them, and we'll talk about that, and you can see pinnacle bosses in real time after I save up a bunch of tokens. But that's it for this video. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Have a happy new year, and see you later. Adios, guys.